Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you all. I hope all is well. I hope everyone is feeling the energy, excited about beginning our week. I almost never come on Sundays. It's not my thing. But something happened and I was inspired and I was challenged and I was encouraged to open my mouth and to address a subject that seems to really be trending, and it's necessary for other voices to be heard on this subject. So I'm doing it. It was a challenge from someone whose platform I respect, and I realized that it's part of my responsibility to support this. And since I take part in this community, I absolutely felt the call. So I'm going to kind of hop right into it. You can tell by the title. It's called the New Age to Jesus Trend. And I noticed this a couple of months ago because I watch YouTube. I don't do TV like that. I never really have been a TV person. I like that I can go on YouTube and find, what I'm interested in, those kind of things. Please stop sending me stuff because I'm screen recording. And I can look for the information and the content that I'm most interested in, which is great, right? And so I was noticing that I kept seeing videos from people that I don't follow, from people that I've never watched, or from people that I used to watch from time to time, but not even subscribed to, sharing their stories about how they've gone from the New Age to Jesus. Am I paused, you guys? Let me know in the comments if you can't see me. Anyway, so these were women. These are primarily Black women from the UK, from the US, from Canada. Some read tarot, some were intuitives. Some gave information about, the proper crystals to use, healing modalities. Some were self-proclaimed witches, some were just spiritualists, like what I consider myself, all over the board. Some are occultists. And I just noticed that it was like video after video after video for the last couple of months about how they've turned away from what they built their platforms on, which is almost exclusively occult meaning hidden. Oh, it's a little choppy. That's weird. Occult just means hidden, right? So this hidden knowledge, or knowledge that is not exactly mainstream. So I was watching this over and over again, and I have been not only shocked, but also kind of confused and wondering why this was suddenly a trend, right? All of a sudden, all of these women, some of the platforms were very large, over 200,000 followers. Some of them were smaller, 50,000 or around there, 25 to 50,000. And as it started to increase, and I listened to them, I found myself leaving more and more comments like, first of all, what is it that you qualify or your definition of New Age? What is that exactly? And this New Age to Jesus. Now, most of the women who are making these videos either grew up in the church or, were born again Christians. And so they really went from Jesus to what they consider New Age back to Jesus. And let me just start it by saying, if people are screen recording, you can mess it up. Okay. Let me start by saying that you can absolutely work with spirit. I mean, reading tarot, using your intuitive gifts, whatever it is that you have, and still be a believer in Jesus, still participate in the Christian church, still be an active Catholic or whatever. They're not mutually exclusive, right? Not everyone who practices and works directly with spirit or their guides, that doesn't necessarily exclude them from operating or participating in any organized religion. All of us have our own path, our own calling. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with if you feel Like you still want to participate and you're still in alignment, or you benefit from going to worship on Sundays, being a part of the choir or whatever. If you're still participating in those things, it doesn't mean that you cannot spiritually evolve. It doesn't mean that you can't work with spirit. It doesn't mean any of those things, because, you know, you are a free individual and we are all spiritual beings having a physical experience, period. Like number one. So I just wanted to start from there. I don't have anything against people in their expression of their religion or participating in organized religion, just because I don't. I grew up in the Christian church, the Church of Christ, a matter of fact, which is its own distinction. We didn't play music. We were extreme Bible thumpers. We read in Hebrew and Greek. Like, it's a very disciplined, very sterile approach to the Bible, approaching the Bible as fact. That's how I grew up. Expository preaching, which means the context of the language used and the historical framework for the book, chapter, verse that we were reading and hearing a sermon on was what we were referred to. And all of us were encouraged to do this. So that's my background. I'm the oldest of three. I'm a preacher's daughter. So my time in the church was very serious. I spent a lot of my life in the church. So when I say I understand that church may be a part of your path, or it may still be a part of your path, I mean that. I don't hold any ill will towards that. Here's what I have a problem with. So here we go on the rant. Number one, and I'm going to name names because otherwise there's not much context. The most recent video that I saw on YouTube was by a young woman who went by the name Pretty Boss. Her channel, I believe, is Pretty Boss TV. And I listened to it. And she had a massive following for years. I would listen to her tarot readings every once in a while. And, you know, she offers some classes. She has a Patreon group, you know, things like that. And the most recent video I saw was of her explaining that she went from the New Age to Yahweh. And I listened to the whole thing, and she described horrible experiences growing up, not being a part of any organized religion and having contact with what she described as demons and you know, being anally raped by a demon. These are her words, not mine. You can watch it yourself. She described, you know, really awful happenings. And then she talked about going to church for a little bit. And then she talked about going into the occult and then coming back out of it and then going back in it. And, you know, how it is that she realized that she was under spiritual attack, and like all this really intense, these intense experiences, which I also want to say, I'm not at all dismissing those experiences. What I want to do is give some context to this. As a Christian, as a former Christian, there are people in the church who read the Bible and study for themselves. And then there's people who just go to church on Sundays and listen to what the minister has to say. There are people in the church who seek to have their own understanding from their own research and time spent in the word themselves, who may at times even challenge what it is that they're being taught by the minister or from the pulpit, because they have their own understanding and they use their own discernment. And then there are people who don't, who actually prefer to be led and guided. And I will say this, and this might be controversial, but from this particular account, my takeaway from it was that you were not a responsible or committed Christian, and you weren't a responsible or committed spiritualist either. The thing is to have full understanding, to take full benefit from whatever it is you participate in or you include yourself in. There's a necessity to be responsible and educate yourself, to seek assistance, to ask questions, to create relationships with other people in the community, to do your own shadow work. Because if you don't, Christian or not, you will continue to struggle. We'll just start there. If you decide to get into the occult or into the secret knowledge, there's an absolute necessity for you to be willing to commit yourself to education, building your commitment up with your guides, with your ancestors who help provide protection for you. If you are tampering with or dealing with the spirit world. And that also includes the spirit that you call on when you call on the name of Jesus or you call on the Holy Spirit. That's all spirit. There is a necessity for you to be comfortable with dealing with your shadow, doing your own shadow work, knowing why it is that you're doing things. If you decided to create an entire platform where you literally had hundreds of thousands of primarily Black women who are seeking other options and ways to get in touch with their own personal abilities and taking a different approach, which I will get into. I'm trying to be, I'm trying to go in order with this. If you build an entire platform completely uneducated, not properly spiritually protected, right? And then it bites you in the ass, and then you proceed to talk about how the deities in the ancient African pantheon, which predate modern Christianity presented in the Bible, and you call them demons because you don't have the proper protections and you didn't do your research and you have zero guidance and you have very little respect for any of what it is that you're involving yourself in. That's not the issue of the system that you participated in. That's a you issue. That's a personal issue. I grew up in the church and saw people who were in the church every single Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday night who struggled with demons and who struggled with but they were their own demons. And that's the thing. This idea that the only thing that could be causing you problems are outside of you, when in fact, many times it's your own stuff that you haven't dealt with. It's your own issues that you have not dealt with. It's your lack of discipline. It's your lack of respect for the spirit world that open you and expose you to things that are in lower frequency. If your frequency is where it's supposed to be, if you're going to be working with spirit, your focus needs to be on doing your shadow work so that you can raise your frequency outside of entities and energies and people who are also spirit, who are at a lower frequency, who can cause you and do you harm. So if what you're saying is you ran to Jesus because you were having troubles in your life, and now you're running, then you ran to the air quotes new age, which I haven't gotten to yet, and you were having problems. And now you've run back to Yeshua or Jesus because you had problems. That signals to me that the entire fuel for these choices was never about learning and taking a hold of your own personal power and moving through your life as a divine creator and having respect for these spirits that predate most of known history. This is about you enriching yourself. This is about using the secret sciences, the unknown, what was actually stripped from us, to enrich yourself. And it never came from a place of desire for self-discovery, which you then sought to spread to other people. That is one of the biggest issues that I had. I was okay with, I made a personal choice about what to do with myself. I understand that because, we all have, changes and redirections on our path, and I respect that. But to say out of your mouth that the pantheon of the Orishas are demons, and that it's all satanic and horrible because you didn't handle it properly. You know what happens when you let a 4-year-old try to cook for themselves? They'll either burn themselves and burn your house down, or they'll just hurt themselves. But either way, there's going to be consequences. Every single thing that you do that has to do with the spirit realm, if you decide that you want to interact and open yourself up to evolving that part of yourself, because we all have that part of ourselves. If you decide to evolve in it and you rush too quickly to work with other people, or you rush too quickly to present yourself and teach classes and present yourself as an authority in an arena that you aren't doing the most basic of practical things, here's a tip. If you are new and you are learning and you have felt the desire, the call to spirit, to empowerment, it is a relationship between you and spirit. It doesn't require anyone in the middle, because you already have built-in protection. What do I mean? You have your ancestors that most of us, and when I say us, I mean people of African descent, especially people of American chattel slavery, or islands that also experienced slavery. Our names were taken, our languages were taken, our culture was stripped from us, and we were handed the Bible and Christian names. And you got to know that there is a reason for that. But the funny thing about this concept of Jesus and the concept of the Bible is that it was almost completely lifted off of the walls in the tombs in ancient Egypt. I'm not going to get into it now. I'm just going to advise you, look up Heru, Set, and Asar, or Auset, Heru, and Set. Look up the story. See the similarities. There's so many similarities. I've been hearing people go off about, Black is King and Beyonce's a witch and all of this stuff and all the symbolism and all the symbolism. Those are your stories. You can take it however you want to. But those stories, those mythologies have been the basis for Greek mythology, for all of the mythologies that for whatever reason, I don't know, we can guess, right? That it's perfectly fine for you to be an active Christian and still know everything about Greek mythology. But God forbid you know about African mythology, which is the original mythology that was used in allegory to explain everything from life cycles, from how we got here to the movement of the stars. Astrology. Astrology is not demonic. Astrology is ancient math. Astrology is the ability to map out and anticipate changes in our world around us, in our weather, and in ourselves as individuals, because we are all connected. We are all one. We are all connected. And so what I heard when I've been listening to these people on YouTube talking about, oh, it's the devil and da, 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 what I'm hearing is that, number one, you weren't educated enough, nor did you care enough about your responsibility. When you choose to get on a public platform and speak like I am, I wouldn't do it if I didn't take the time, if I didn't spend hours and years educating myself on what it is that I'm telling you. Okay? These people never did that. They never did that, because if they did, they would know full well what's going on with them and with everything else. What tends to happen is that when you don't properly educate yourself because you're not actually committed to what you're talking about, you can run into problems. I have no doubt that this young woman is having dreams of Jesus coming and holding her hand as much as she's having dreams of demons chasing her. I believe that that's what she's dreaming. I believe that that's a part of her experience. But there's an irresponsibility when you build a platform that has made you thousands and thousands of dollars for years, and then you delete all of your previous videos and present yourself like, oh, well, yeah, Jesus. Like it's completely predatory. It's completely irresponsible. And here's why it bothers me so much. Aside from, one of the main things that bothers me is that as a Black woman who's acutely aware of our history and all that has been taken from us and all that we have been stripped of, to undermine new seekers of truth, whatever that truth may be to you, but to undermine the sincere seeking of new people who are trying to decolonize their mind, to gather information and look for guidance, that instead of holding space for them, affirming their right to have access to what was stolen from us. We're talking about ancient knowledge. We're talking about knowledge that's in our DNA. What's happening right now is that more and more and more of us are realizing that the collective is splitting. And it is in our DNA. Something in us 5-10 years ago said, I think I'm going to stop perming my hair. I think I want to let my coils loose, because there was something inside of us all over the world that said, this feels right. I'm just going to go with what feels right. The natural hair movement started to explode. More and more people are changing their diets in any manner. We are fasting more. We are thinking about what our ancestors practiced. We haven't been exposed to it personally, but something inside of us, because spirit cannot be destroyed, and we are our living ancestors. Their DNA, their blood is flowing through our bodies. Right now, more and more and more of us are becoming aware. We feel the electricity of this information. And if you decided to create a platform where you are giving guidance, teaching classes, collecting money, offering assistance to people on their path, and then because you got scared, because you got in over your head, because you actually got access to the full power that you were born to wield, it was too much for you. You didn't actually have the head to wear that crown. And now you're going to demonize it, and you're going to dissuade people on their path. It's disgusting to me. And it is a reaffirmation of the patriarchal white supremacist system that seeks to strip us of our power. Because what happens when millions and millions and millions of melanated people tap into their ancestors, get their altar together, start burning some incense, start meditating, start having those memories that have been long suppressed? What happens when the melanated people get online and in line? What happens? And so to see it over and over, I mean, I've literally seen at least 20 videos like this. Women who had found themselves in horrible financial situations, who used their gifts of being able to divinate, using tarot, using the intuition like I do, turning from it and saying that it is sinful and against the Creator for you to operate in your godhood. I've literally heard people say it is against God for you to use your gifts that He gave you, if you believe in that He gave you to divine and allow for guidance for other people. For me, this is my opinion, the function of organized religion, and I don't care what it is principally and primarily created to control individuals, principally and primarily in those individuals, melanated women above all. Who's in the church the most? Women that look like me. Being told, let go and let God. Don't actually utilize any of your own ability to affect your scope of influence. Don't reach out and ask your ancestors to intercede on your behalf. Don't ask Ishu to clear a pathway for you. Don't get in touch with your Orishas, who is present with you anyway, whether or not you believe it or not. All of that is against God. God is only happy with you when you have given yourself over to complete and total helplessness. It's damaging, it's irresponsible, it's unfair. And I think that it is a part of a greater plan, because honestly, when you look at the sheer quantity of women who in the last 5 years have actively started to do spiritual cleanses, we're doing our spiritual baths, we are touching our crystals. What predates crystals? Crystals are in the ground. Like, we're not going to something new. There's nothing new age about this. This is ancient knowledge. This is our knowledge of ourselves. New age is a misnomer and it's false. There's nothing new about this. This is ancient. This is in our DNA. This is in our bloodline. And there is a concerted effort to undermine that at one of the most critical times. If you guys only knew how important and how powerful and how necessary our awakening is, we are actively raising the frequency on this planet. And this isn't something that I usually say. I usually give very practical instructions, fast so that you can have more self-control. Well, there's a reason for that. Meditate so that we literally have the ability to affect more change. Just one of us, not to mention thousands of us. This is what pushed me to open my mouth and to come in public forum and to speak. It wasn't something that I was comfortable with. It wasn't something that I ever thought that I would do. But people who are doing Reiki, people who are doing energy work, people who are doing cleanses, who are giving information about how to cleanse your house, hungry medium. People who are active Christians who still read tarot and use their gifts for all kinds of divination, hood healer. People like me who interact with and have a love for and are building a connection with Ifa while being a full-blown spiritualist. I use everything. I utilize everything. I'm a student of everything. I'm a spiritualist because I understand who it is that I am. Everything belongs to me. I am a divine creator. And they don't want you to feel that way. They don't want you to know that. They want you to be scared. They want you to be scared. They want you to feel like you need an intercessor. They want you to feel like you don't have the right to go straight to source. They want you to feel less than because it helps them continue to exert control over you. It's a trend, and it's a trend for a reason. The entire concept is ancient. None of what we're doing is new age. It's not. It's a lie. And those of us who are aware of it, I'm here to offer you support in your spiritual search. I am here to let you know, I'll give you a little story. I was like 10, 9. I remember saying to my dad, why is it that the example of Adam and Eve being the fall of man, which is how it's taught in church, why is it that this is used to continue to shut all of our mouths, us being women? Why is it that the fall of man was the responsibility and the fault of the woman, even though in the Bible, the responsibility of care for the planet and for that woman was put in the hands of Adam? Doesn't that mean that he failed? Doesn't that mean that he is the one who betrayed God? Because he was the one who was given the responsibility. Didn't he betray his responsibility? How is that Eve's fault? And my dad just blinked. He said, oh, you shouldn't say that because that's anti-Christian and you'll go to hell. I said, but it doesn't make any sense. Why is it that his only punishment was being thrown out, but her punishment was to be in pain in childbirth, and that she would be forced to cower to him and all of her daughters after that? I said, don't you feel like that's a little extreme? Doesn't that feel strange? No, of course not. And why would he admit to it? Even though I know that he knew. I know that he knew, but it benefited him. It benefited his position. It benefits him. When a marginalized group asks for equality, the group that's been oppressing them feels like they're being oppressed. That's just how this works. So there's been articles for the last 10 years, every year or so, about how droves of people are leaving the church. Droves of people are coming to their own practices. Droves of Black people, Black women especially, are looking for their ancient ways. This has been happening. And so do you think that for 2 seconds in 2020, with all of the crazy that's going on, that there wouldn't be a concerted effort to undermine the renaissance, the rise of, the rebirth of our ancestors who knew what was going on? That's who we are. That's who we are. You hear this, oh, I'm a star seed, I'm a star. And it's kind of, it's been watered down and it's a little confusing, but really, as far as my understanding of it, right, is that just means that the cycle is now in rebirth and that we are aware of who it is that we've always been. We are coming back to our ancient knowledge. And every single person who decided to get in a platform and offer their voices as a guide or a leader, who are now actively leading their own people back into bondage. Because let me just say, any system or framework that separates you from your right to access source directly is putting you in bondage. They want you to stay asleep. Exactly. They want you to stay asleep. It doesn't matter what it is. That can happen in Santeria, that can happen in Condomblé, that can happen in the Baptist church, that can happen in Catholicism. Any system that is not encouraging you to take personal responsibility for your spiritual knowledge and growth is seeking to put you in bondage. And why would you allow yourself, I guess for a check, to lead hundreds and thousands of people back into bondage, into ignorance, and into fear? Why would you do that? And do you think that Spirit's going to just leave you alone? How do you know that the spirit that's supposedly protecting you now is the spirit that you think? Because clearly discernment is not your area of expertise. Discernment kind of escapes you. If every dream that you have, you determine for yourself what it is, you don't have any framework for eldership or anybody that you resonate with that you can trust, and you're just winging it as you go along and spreading your confusion and your lack of education and laziness for the world and undermining new people who are seeking nothing more than to find their own path. It's disgusting to me. It infuriates me. I know that some of them did it for a check. I know they did, because they are very comfortably on YouTube talking about, you can unfollow me. You can unfollow me. Now, we all know your followership contributes directly to your bottom line. So Google must be really paying. You must have gotten a nice check for you to really not care how many followers you're losing. That is what we call an agent. So why did I feel the need to say this? There are some women who have, for a long time now, contributed directly to my growth and to my education. Some of the things they said I didn't agree with, but either way, the fact that they brought it up encouraged me to do my own research. You know what I mean? Because I'm ultimately responsible for myself. I hope to do the same for you. I hope that what I am saying is going to encourage you to do the work yourself. And also, I'm hoping that this will further explain why some of the changes that are coming and some of the things I'm going to be rolling out for you guys, you'll understand why. We have to have a safe place for our occult hidden knowledge. When we were betrayed, we meaning the mothers, the originators on this planet, when we experienced our betrayal, not only were we betrayed, but our knowledge was given to our enemy, who ended up oppressing everyone. We have to have safe spaces. We do. We no longer can trust our information. You guys know, I've been reported. My lives are being reported. I have less than 3,000 followers. I'm being reported. My Cash App was reported. We have to have safe spaces to have these conversations. We do. And more of us are coming together and realizing that we need to work together to allow for the access to this information, because it's dangerous, because they don't want you to have it. They don't want you to have it. You need support in your journey. You need mentorships. You need access to people who know. I'm still growing. I'm grateful. But I did a lot of this by myself, and it took me years to get to where I am now. You guys, all of you, deserve to be supported, and we have to support each other. We have a responsibility. Don't talk about it unless you're actually going to be about it. Don't talk about it and frame yourself as if it's something you're interested in, but the nanosecond that something happens and makes you afraid, you go running back to what sent you out in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. We got to be better with our discernment. We have to. Our discernment is all that we have at the end of the day. Learn to listen to your small voice. Strengthen your connection with your ancestors, please, because they are your first line of defense. Start there. But anybody who has built an entire platform and made thousands and thousands of dollars off of teaching you with very little knowledge or expertise or history or experience, and then proceeds to tell you that it's all the devil, That should tell you who they are. That should let you know everything that you need to know. Adunola, I know I'm butchering her name. Priestess Auset. These are women on YouTube and on Instagram. I will do a post on, once I'm done, I'll do a post and I'll list some of the links. We need to be supporting these channels. I'm actually going to post this on my YouTube. I suggest and I'm asking that all of you follow me on YouTube or subscribe to me on YouTube. Share this. We need to support the ones that are brave enough to raise their voices. If you still want to have access to information, if you still want to have access to a supportive environment for your spiritual growth, now is the time to create these communities in very real ways where you get to know each other and you uphold the people that have been brave enough to raise their voices. The ones who have, I saw something, speaking of that, I was on Twitter, which y'all know I almost never am. And some kid made a post talking about beware of these people that think that they're the end all, the be all of spirituality because we're all at the same level. That's not true. That is not true. That is not true. That's what lazy people who don't actually care about their growth try to say to dismiss and demean people who have spent their lives, all their free time and extra money on educating themselves. That's a lie. Now is the time for us to take more accountability for ourselves as adults and as spiritual beings. Everybody's a spiritual being, but we're not all at the same level. We're just not. You got to step your frequency up. You got to step your educational game up. You have to. There's things that you actually have to do to increase your access and to get to a higher frequency so that you can have more information revealed to you. I was saying this last week. I just got this long ass list of taboos and I'm like, is chicken gonna win? How serious am I about the things that I'm being told? How serious am I about my growth? How serious am I about these things? We're all at different places and everyone's path is gonna look different. But please let this be a lesson on why it is so important to do your shadow work, to use your intuition, to understand what's at stake. There are forces and principalities and powers that are against you freeing yourself. They don't want that. And they're doing everything they can to undermine it. I am Conjure Queen. Here, I'm going to @ her. I'm going to tag her in this. I'm tagging everybody that I've mentioned in this video, and I'm going to post it on YouTube. So please subscribe to me over there. We have to support each other. I am working on something to create safer spaces and to have more conversation about some of the deeper concepts. I don't like to speak in terms that are alienating. And like I said, I understand that everybody's at a different level. And not everyone is even interested in, fully grasping the scope of their creatorship as being in the image of God. Think about all the truth that is in the Bible that has been framed in a way that actually takes you away from that knowledge, that undermines it. Literally, you're being told that you were made in the image of God. But you don't have no control over anything and you can't actually, it's just to keep you in bondage. It's just to keep you in bondage. And I have a responsibility on my tiny platform to speak out and speak up against it. There is no new age. That's a lie. What it actually is us connecting to our ancient knowledge. It's the old age coming back. It's the old age taking center again. We are moving out of, I believe, Pisces era into the I know of Aquarius. That's what's happening. So do you want to know, or would you rather live with a lie? If you rather live with the lie and it's just more comfortable, do that shit. But if that's what you're going to do, don't spread it to other people. If you can't handle it, go on back to what's comfortable, but don't undermine what other people are doing. So I hope that was helpful. I think I said what I needed to say. I've been incredibly frustrated by this. I am no longer participating in having what belongs to me regurgitated, chopped and screwed and fed back to me. I'm no longer willing to allow for people to try to tell me that what I know in my spirit, what spirit is showing me, is wrong and demonic and doesn't belong to me. I'm not here for that. And trust and believe, and I mean this is a full warning. If you start and you play with spirit and you engage in what these people are doing, they will never have peace. They will never have peace. So I wanted to say that. I'm on YouTube at The Global Black Girl. If you're not already following, subscribe, please subscribe. I'm going to add, I am Conjure Queen. I'm going to add Priestess Auset, Ra Amin. She's on YouTube as well. I'm going to look for the tags in the video because it's going to be, these are the women that have contributed directly to my growth. Not to mention Ashra Kwesi. He does tours of ancient Egyptian artifacts in the tombs themselves. He's one of the only black men. He and his wife do these tours. You can look on YouTube for him. Look up Bobby Hemmit. Bobby Hemmit is a character and he is expressive and his delivery isn't necessarily for everyone, but he has a lot of really, really, really informative information. Phil Valentine, Dr. Phil Valentine, you can find some of his old, I'm talking about from the 80s and 90s videos that have been uploaded to YouTube. Get this information, screen record it while you can, because any second they've already started demonetizing and removing this information. So, we have to archive it and keep it for ourselves, for our community, for our children, because this is the ancient knowledge that we need. Phil Valentine. There's a lot of people. Yeah, Ashra Kwesi is everything. Yeah, so I'm going to try to come up with like a list of really beneficial resources for you. And support your girls, support other people that are doing this work. This is real work and we risk a lot and we are actively being shut down. So just know that when you think about what you're going to do, who you're going to listen to, who you're supporting, think about that. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. I never come on Sundays, but this needed to be said. With all due respect to every path, with all due respect to every belief, hold space for yours and don't tear down anyone else's. Have a good rest of your Sunday.